Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to From the Sideline podcast. I'm Francis.
And I'm Peter. And today we have another episode. It's been a while, but hopefully you guys were tuned in with our YouTube videos. We launched a YouTube channel recently.
Yep.
Make sure to go follow if you haven't already.
From the Sideline with Francis and Peter on YouTube.
Yep, we have 2 videos, both of our mock draft 1.0s, and then follow the IG. But today we have a huge episode.
Huge. Massive.
So the agenda for today, we have Luka Doncic being traded to the Los Angeles Lakers in probably one of the worst trades in NBA history.
Maybe the worst trade.
Probably the worst trade, if we're being honest, but we'll get there. And then we're going to go recap the national championship game, and then talk about the conference championship, and then finally the Super Bowl, all that NFL stuff. But, yeah, let's get right into it.
All right, I'm going to start us off with some Luka talk here. My opinion, easily the worst trade in NBA history, just by the looks of it. I mean, Luka Doncic, generational talent. I'd probably say Jokic is the best player in the NBA, but I'd put him second. And Jokic is 29. Luka's 25 years old. 25 years old. He has like 10 more years in his career at least, barring injuries. But if I was an NBA GM and I had Luka as a piece on my team, I genuinely wouldn't trade him for anybody. He's number one untouchable player in the NBA, in my opinion. His potential is best player in the NBA by far, and like
Probably might even be that right now.
Yeah, honestly, and he's gonna win an MVP at some point. And I mean, okay, let's just say hypothetically you were gonna trade him, because I mean it did happen. The only things I would trade him for are another insane rising star. I mean, the Mavs GM said that he values defense a lot, so maybe like a Wemby and then like picks or something. But I still wouldn't do that. But yeah, what?
I saw something that said the original trade was it was Anthony Davis, 3 first-round picks, and Dalton Connect, and then Rob Pelinka talked Nico Harrison down from that. Which that's still an absolute fleece job for Luka Doncic.
Yeah,
and he talked him down from that. Like, it's just absolutely absurd. Like, they have to know something they have to know something we don't with Luka, or it's like something to do. Like, I'm not even that big into conspiracy theories, but I mean, come on, like they're making it too obvious with this one. Like, the Mavs just got new ownership. I think it's the Adelsons. They're a like really rich family after Mark Cuban sold his majority share, and there's like rumors about them moving to Vegas. So maybe they're trying to like lose touch with the fan base and then move the team or something like that. It's just like it makes no sense that you trade the top 2 player in the NBA away for 32-year-old Anthony Davis. And I'm not hating on Anthony Davis. He's still a really good player, and they're still gonna be good, but he's really injury prone. He's probably a top 10 player. He might even be top 5. He's a really good basketball player, but he's 32 years old.
Yeah.
And it's the worst trade I've ever seen in my – it's the worst trade that's ever been done in the history of sports. Like, when I looked at my phone and I told Francis, like, he just did not believe me, and, like who even thinks of that?
Yeah.
I've never – there's not even that much to say other than, like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah. I wouldn't trade Luka for Jokic, Embiid. The only 2 players I would maybe trade him for are Giannis and Wemby. Even that I would need picks. So I mean, and the Bucks, neither the Bucks or the Spurs would do that. And I mean, the Lakers just absolutely fleeced. I mean, we all know the Lakers' biggest gaping hole in their team is their big men, and they really don't have any. They just lost pretty much their one big man. But that is not a problem when you're getting Luka Doncic.
The next 10 years, next 10 plus years of their franchise.
Pairing up Luka and LeBron, and Luka has potential to be, I would go as far as say a top 10 player in the NBA history. I mean, just talent-wise, he could be top 5 all time, and he's different. And getting a replacement for AD is not going to be very hard when you have Luka Doncic on your team. So the Mavericks, like Peter said, like honestly, those conspiracies are something's not adding up. And
who cares if he's 270?
Yeah,
pounds? Give me 300 if he's still playing like that.
If conditioning is your biggest concern, like that is such BS. You can't. Like Luka was supposed to be the next Dirk for the Mavs franchise, and the fan base is just absolutely torn apart. They just traded their franchise player who just took them to the NBA Finals. And that's the other thing, like, I don't understand, is he just led your team to the NBA Finals, and you trade your franchise player and get fleeced, and you're, like, hoping to get better. Most teams, only 2 teams make it to the NBA Finals, and you're one of them last year, and you want to change your whole team and change your whole offense, your whole roster, because it's based around Luka. And I don't understand. You saw success made to the NBA Finals, and you want to change it all up. It just makes no sense, and the fans are torn apart. It's just terrible for the franchise.
And the Lakers were the only team they talked to, and that's something that makes it really sketchy. It's like there's just no way that you don't even, if you're thinking about trading a player like that, you don't even like send any feelers. And also what was weird is nothing got out at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that doesn't happen with any trade. There's always a rumor, even like an hour before there was no rumor. Boom, it just happened.
That's also the reason why it was like so surprising, and so like if we heard about the rumors before, like it would have settled in more, but it was just immediate shock. And I mean, I feel like, I saw a YouTube video, and I don't know why they were trying to keep it so under wraps, but if they like actually released that they were like thinking about trading Luka, I feel like they could have gone like, I think any other team in the NBA could have given them a better deal than that.
And going the route that they did, like trading for an older Anthony Davis, who's, like I said before, he's a really good player. Why would you go that route if you, for some reason, even though you're in the finals last year, want to blow it up? Why don't you trade Luka to the Thunder for like Jalen Williams and like a bajillion first-round picks? Because they would for sure do that. And then like it sucks that you lost Luka, but then you have the whole you have the future setup. I saw someone talking about this on TikTok, and like talking about the Thunder, and then there's other teams that I just can't really think of right now. But like, why? Like I know they want defense, but why 32-year-old Anthony Davis? Like why? There's just like setting aside wanting to trade away the top 2 player in the NBA, which is just stupid. Like even if you do want to trade him because you know something we don't, you could get so much more for that. Yeah,
and it's just like the Mavs GM said this helps them in the present and in the future, and it just doesn't help them in either. Like they're not going to get better right now with Anthony Davis rather than Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic obviously has more offensive firepower, and like they already have bigs and like Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively, so I don't really understand. And also, the Mavs had a top 5 defense last year, even with Luka. So I'm confused. Like statistically, they had a top 5 defense in the league. So it just makes no sense. Nothing is adding up. Anything that the GM is saying doesn't make any sense. He has to know something we don't know, right? Surely, but I don't know. Right now, it's not even a head scratcher. It's just
stupid.
Like it's like I don't know.
The next thing we're gonna talk about is the De'Aaron Fox trade that just happened. I think I'll see if I can remember it. It was De'Aaron Fox to the Spurs for 3 firsts, they're all from different teams, and one of them's the 2025 one is protected. The 2027 one is I think it's the Spurs 2027 pick, which is not going to be good.
And then the Timberwolves 2031 pick,
which is
2031. I'm serious.
Yeah, and then they also get Zach LaVine. The Bulls unload that contract, which is really good for them.
Who'd the Bulls get? Like Zach Collins and
Kevin Huerter.
Yeah, but they and like a first or something.
They didn't get a first. Yeah. They were just looking to unload that contract, which they were successful in doing. And Zach LaVine he's still pretty good, but he's definitely out of his prime now, and for sure not worth that contract. Mm-hmm. But as for Fox, I've always been a big De'Aaron Fox guy. Yeah. Ever since he came to the league out of Kentucky, I just love his game. And on the Spurs, he's such a perfect complement to Wemby. And if they get one more piece, they're immediately vaulted into like finals contention, perennial every year. But he fits so perfectly with Wemby. Like athletic, good shooter, can kind of do it all, and he's creative enough to set Wemby up with his unique skill set. So I think it's a great deal for the Spurs, and not so great for the Kings because they could have gotten a lot. Like it looks good seeing 2-3 first-round picks, but when you actually like look at the first-round picks, they're not very valuable at all, which is kind of like you could have gone a lot of different ways there, and now you have that huge Zach LaVine contract, so they're kind of in no man's land right now.
Obviously the Spurs won this trade by a large margin. The Bulls, I I mean, I guess they're just in tank mode now, which is like good. I mean, they had no future. Zach LaVine as your star player. I mean, it's not going to cut it. And they drafted Modest Buzelis, who I really like. They have Kobe White, who's I really like as well. And they're obviously in tank mode, which is I guess the right thing to do in this situation. The Kings, however, I mean, I guess they're just doing what they do best, and they're just being mid again, pairing up DeMar and Zach LaVine again. But I mean, this is super. If I was a Kings fan, I'd be super disappointed with this. I mean, we knew that De'Aaron Fox was probably going to get traded, and the Spurs was a very likely option. And like Peter said, De'Aaron Fox and Victor Wembanyama is a perfect complement to each other. They're going to be a great fit. I mean, De'Aaron Fox is like quite easily the fastest player in the NBA. And if you're a defense, how are you supposed to play against if the fastest player slasher in the NBA is driving downhill at you, and then you also have a 7'4" freak who can pull one-legged threes and dunk from the free throw line with barely jumping? Like, how are you supposed to defend that? It's going to be very fun to watch that offense. But the Kings, surely you think that they get at least one or two of the Spurs young players. I mean, like Stephon Castle, Devin Vassell, Jeremy Sohan. Surely you get one of those guys. They got none of those guys, and they got terrible picks. It was just a terrible trade for the Kings. The Spurs clearly won this trade. They didn't give up anything. They keep their roster intact. And, I mean, those other role players like Stephon Castle, Jeremy Sohan, Devin Vassell, and Chris Paul, like, I don't really know how well they're going to mesh together. You have a bunch of guards, not a lot of bigs on that team. But, I mean, at least you got to keep all those players, and then you can work something out and, you know, test all the possibilities out. But you didn't lose any of them, which I thought was great from the Spurs. So the Spurs are looking like they have a bright future. I don't think they're going to be in championship contention, but De'Aaron Fox is still like decently young. Wemby's obviously very young. So if they get one more young star, I think they have a great chance of looking like the OKC Thunder.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to I agree with Francis. We're going to shift gears here, move on, just to graze over college football, national championship. So the result, Ohio State 34, Notre Dame 24. Ohio State.
It was like Ohio State 38.
I think it was 35. They won by 2 scores. They kicked a field goal at the end.
Yeah, it wasn't close.
But it got close at the end, but Ohio State was pretty clearly the better team. Takeaways from this game, Jeremiah Smith is him. He's him.
Yeah.
Like that route on 3rd and 11. I don't know why you're leaving him out on the island. And it wasn't even Benjamin Morris in there. It was
He's hurt. He was hurt.
Oh, he was hurt.
Yeah, he's out for the season. But it was terrible coverage. He had like inside leverage and gave him like 10 yards space pocket, and just running a go route. Like,
obviously,
terrible
he's
scheme.
going to beat you. But as for him, he's definitely going to be a top 5 pick in 2020.
Top 1.
I don't know about that.
2027.
2027, if everything goes according to plan. But it usually doesn't. He's probably going to have a sophomore slump or something like that. Hopefully not for his sake. But that just tends to happen with really talented freshmen. But Ohio State, they were the best team in the college football playoff this season. And I think the college football playoff, the 12-team format, I saw Colin Cowherd talking about this, and I usually don't agree with what he says, but I really agree with him. He said Ohio State was the first team that's allowed to grow, and they were allowed to grow. They lost to Michigan, and that loss absolutely crushed them. Obviously, the Oregon loss was a little different. And then they were allowed to grow throughout the college football playoff format. Like you haven't been able to before because no two-loss team has ever gotten in. And then we saw they came out with a vengeance against Tennessee, absolutely smacked Oregon 34-0 in the second quarter in the Rose Bowl, which was awesome to watch.
Yeah.
UTA. And then they ran through Texas. They didn't run through Texas, but they were clearly the better team in all of the games that they played. And then the national championship against Notre Dame. So they definitely deserved it, and they won the national championship. Oregon proved to be frauds as always, which was pretty awesome. And then Notre Dame, I did not really expect this after that loss to NIU, but I think it's time we say it's time for them to get a real schedule. It's time for them to join an actual conference because you can't just like cupcake your way. They're going to make it into the playoff every year if they keep doing this.
Yeah.
Because they have so many fans and the committee just loves them. Which is kind of BS in my opinion because they don't actually have to play anyone hard at all if they don't want.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they played pretty well. I mean, I don't even really think they were that good of a team. They just got really lucky. I think Penn State was for sure better than them, in my opinion, at least, even though Drew Eller is not that good of a quarterback. But neither is Riley Leonard, really. He's just kind of like their offense was so, like, stagnant, like running the ball and stuff. Jeremiah Love, great player. But Riley Leonard, and they don't really get their receivers involved at all.
The pass game was pretty weak.
Yeah, the pass game was pretty weak, and their defense was solid, but pretty undeserving to go to the national championship, I'd say. But that's kind of what you get with the 12-team playoff, because last year they for sure wouldn't have made it. They lost to NIU, and they had one loss with that schedule. Think about Florida State didn't even make it last year.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I actually kind of have a gripe with the new college football playoff system. I don't think like the seeding is very fair. Like having Boise State and Arizona State as your 3 and 4 seed, like that is not fair at all. Like I mean, obviously they won their conferences, and Ohio State was a 2-loss team, so obviously they weren't going to be like they didn't deserve to be the 3 or 4 seed. But I mean, it's just kind of like for those teams, like you should be rewarded if like you're the 1 or 2 seed like Oregon to have like a pretty easy like first and second game, and like they did have an easy first round, but then the next round after that you have to play like some of the toughest teams in the nation, and I don't think it should be formatted like that. I think it should be you should be rewarded if you have an undefeated season or if you have a all-time great season for your college, but it just didn't work out like that. And then teams like Oregon had to play Ohio State in the second round. And, I mean, honestly, it should have been Oregon, Ohio State in the Natty, if we're being honest here. But moving on to the actual game, I actually think Riley Leonard really proved himself and kind of put himself more on the map. Like, he was having, kind of a down season. I mean, he had some hype at Duke, and then he transferred to Notre Dame, and he was playing fine, but not great, not really NFL-type quarterback. But I think he really proved himself in the last 2 games. He showed his grit, and he showed his flashes and abilities to, be able to have those big-time plays. And, he was great on his feet, not as much so as a passer, but, I mean, he showed at the Senior Bowl. Like, I think he was the best passer at the Senior Bowl.
Who?
Riley Leonard.
No.
He was like, no, he didn't even play that much. Like, I think he only played like
well in the game,
six pass attempts, but yeah, that's what I was talking about the game. But like, he looked like he was throwing with anticipation, and like
I thought it was definitely
he was going through his good. Oh yeah, it was probably Jackson Dart, but I think I've always thought Jackson Dart was good, but I don't think he's gonna be good in the NFL.
Yeah, he's a good thrower of the football. But one more thing, just to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt a little, but Jalen Milroe absolutely did.
Oh my god,
terrible
he
at the Senior Bowl. But I do think we should give him a little slack because, his errors are mainly like anticipation and sort of like he doesn't really have that good connections with his receivers.
Like
so obviously they're going to be amplified when he's playing in a format where he doesn't know any of the other players and they don't have the play calls and they don't have the playbook instilled. So I think it made him look a little bad. And I used to be such a big Jalen Milroe guy because he has all of the athletic traits. But I really think he probably should have stayed another year in college. Yeah. But yeah, back to Riley Leonard.
I just don't think Jalen Milroe was a very good quarterback. But just overall, I just thought this college football season was super disappointing. Not a lot of talent. The teams were there wasn't like one clear team that was really good. And then this draft too is just super underwhelming. Not a lot of talent. There's no generational talent. Like we'll see how Travis Hunter does, Abdul Carter, but
you could say Genty, but
he's not.
You could argue that, but one of the things that I think made this season a little more boring than usual. Well, obviously the Huskies weren't as good, and it was super fun to watch them last year with Penix. So we're obviously a little implicitly biased with that. But this year the quarterback play was just
so bad.
Just bad. It was just bad. And then, like I was saying, we obviously got spoiled the year before. Penix, Nix,
Williams, Drake May. It's just like there was no good quarterback play this year.
Go down the list. The quarterback play is horrible. But next year it's looking pretty promising. I would say I'm looking from an optimistic viewpoint. Just a few guys I like. I like DJ Lagway, Florida. He's just big, tall. I think he's going to take a big step up this year. Although I don't think Billy Napier is a very good coach. But that doesn't really mean as much when it comes to college about like play calling. I guess it's more of a skill-based game, I would say. As we've seen like countless examples of before. Like Johnny Manziel, who's an absolutely talented player. He didn't give a crap about the playbook. But he was able to succeed in college. Tim Tebow, absolutely terrible thrower of the football, but he succeeded in college. He had Urban Meyer as coach, which isn't that good of an example. But, yeah, I think there's a lot of potential for quarterbacks next year. Who else? Damon Williams, great QB.
Arch Manning. Like, there's a lot. Arch is a really good. Who's the Florida State quarterback?
Florida State. Thomas Castellanos.
Oh, wait, no. Oh, yeah.
Castellanos,
the Boston College
transfer. He's a really good player. Kind of got done dirty by Bill O'Brien in Boston College. Yeah. But, yeah, there's a lot of potential for a good quarterback.
I hope Cade Klubnik has a breakout season.
I'm a big Cade Klubnik guy.
I like him a lot.
Not a big Drew Aller guy.
I hope Drew Aller does well because he has like a lot of the. I love his throwing mechanisms and I think he has a lot of potential, but his reads are so bad and his accuracy, like especially in their last game of the season, that last pick. Oh my god, it's just terrible. Like he said, he was just trying to throw it away and he threw a pick.
He didn't. He's big, tall, athletic, has a good throwing motion, has an absolute cannon, but super inaccurate and his decision making sucks.
So hopefully he progresses.
Get that figured out. Next thing, I kind of just added this on the fly. Myles Garrett requested a trade the other day.
Yeah.
What do you want to?
Well, I mean, I don't really have much to say on this. Like, I mean, there's a lot of places he could go, but just obviously me and Peter, like, please come to the Seahawks. Like, we're not going to get him. There's a 0.0001% chance that we even try to get him.
Although, I could see, I love DK Metcalf. I love DK Metcalf.
You think John Schneider's going to – he's not –
I don't think he would pull the trigger on it, but DK Metcalf in a first-round pick for the best defender of our generation besides Aaron Donald.
Do you think the Browns would accept that? I'd throw 2 first.
But, like, from what I was thinking 2 first originally.
Myles Garrett, bro?
He's about to turn 30, though. So you probably get, like, 3 or 4.
Maybe, a first and, like,
DK.
A second.
Because you have to unload the salary, and then you have to, because he has a huge contract, so you have to cut Tyler Lockett, Draymond Jones, Rayshon Jenkins, all those guys that you probably...
Trey Brown.
Gone. He's gone.
Please leave.
Pharaoh Brown also.
Oh, get the hell out of here.
Big helmet.
But Myles Garrett is not coming to Seattle, but please.
But he's so good. Realistic bits, I could see him on the Lions. Ooh, that's scary.
Packers.
I could see him... God, what else have I been seeing?
I don't know. Like, just edge rusher, any team can add another edge rusher, and especially Myles Garrett, the best in the league. Debatably,
I like him
easily top 2.
I like him on the Panthers, but I like him on every.
Yeah, he's literally you'd like him on every single team. No team would not take Myles Garrett.
Maybe like the Texans.
Bro, they
have Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson, but that's off topic.
Bro, he could easily take over both of those guys.
Yeah, but their salary. But he's the best defender in the league. He's on the trade market. It just felt like we had to mention that. Okay, let's talk about the conference championship games. First, we're going to talk about the AFC Championship. Patrick Mahomes.
Just every year.
It's
automatic.
Year, inevitable.
Yeah.
He owns Josh Allen. I'm never, ever, ever going to pick Josh Allen to beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs until I see it. Maybe I'll pick Joe Burrow, but I don't even think so anymore after the Burrowhead game where Mahomes won.
No, I still like Joe.
I still like Joe. But he's genuinely kryptonite. They just can't beat him in January and February. It's kind of like I'm not a Chiefs hater like I guess everyone on the internet tries to be. Like, it's just greatness that I'm witnessing because when I see number 15 walk out there and in the fourth quarter of the AFC Championship game every single season, I know he's gonna win the game. I know it. And Josh Allen, he's a great regular season performer, but he's not Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL by like one of the biggest gaps that there's ever been. Because Tom Brady wasn't always the best QB in the NFL during his time. Mahomes is.
Yeah.
He's good in the regular season. He does what's asked. of him. He doesn't try and put up flashy stats. He just wins. And that's all he does. He just wins. And he wins in December and January and February. And that's why he's about to have 4 Super Bowl rings.
I mean, you can't make this up. It gets to a point, dude. And like, Patrick Mahomes, like what? They were 15-2. And it was an off season for him, and they were still 15-2.
And the one loss was
at the end of the season when
he was 15-1 as a starter.
When he wasn't playing. Like, that's insane. And then it was an off season for him, and he only had 1 loss. And then in the playoffs, he's just by far the best quarterback in the league. It's just like ChatGPT could make this up. It's so predictable. It's just, it kind of gets to a point. But like Peter said, we are witnessing greatness, and I'm not that mad about it. I want to see him overtake Tom Brady, because this is. I mean, obviously Tom Brady is still our childhood, but Patrick Mahomes is like more of our generation. I don't know
why people pretend like they like Tom Brady was liked. He was way less liked than
No, he was like the most hated player in NFL history.
Because there's actually like dirty stuff that he did. And then people complain about Mahomes and the rest. Do you guys remember Dee Ford being offsides in that 2018 AFC Championship game? And then do you remember that roughing the passer where they literally just like tapped Brady's shoulder and they called it on 3rd and 8, and the Patriots went to the Super Bowl again and won in a Super Bowl that could have been Chiefs versus Saints, which would have been an absolutely amazing Super Bowl. Everyone hated Tom Brady for that, but people just want to do they see one thing online and they just run with it. So I wouldn't pay too much attention to that. It's not because of the refs. There was a few calls that could have gone their way, but since they called it short on the field on that 4th and 1 QB sneak with Josh Allen, which they had 4 chances to get for it, they're not going to overturn it when it was like within a millimeter.
No.
Like, people are just like upset. If that was the Bills in that position who were on defense and the Chiefs were on offense, people would be complaining left and right. So the NFL should not pay any attention to that. And people also pretend, I'm just kind of venting a little bit, but people also pretend like the NFL wants the Chiefs to win. When Josh Allen lost the game in overtime when the Chiefs had 13 seconds left and kicked a field goal to send the game to overtime, they literally changed the NFL postseason overtime rules the next year. Why would they want the Chiefs to go again? People don't want that, but yet they do, which is even more impressive. And obviously, I feel bad for Josh and the Bills. He's a good playoff performer, but he's not good enough. And one thing I want to point out was when I was watching that game in the first drive, especially, he kind of settled down after that. I didn't really think this could happen under Joe Brady, but Josh was acting like his old self. He was just slinging it, trying to play hero ball should have thrown 2 picks on the first drive. He was just trying to do everything himself, and he went out there. I forget, some analyst said that if Josh Allen goes out with the mindset that it's him versus Mahomes, he's going to lose, and that's exactly what happened, and they lost. Yeah. So another year of disappointment for the Bills. I'm not gonna.
Well, this is the Bills-Chiefs game, the AFC Championship game. What? Wait, was that last year? The 13-second.
No.
That was 2 years ago, right? Josh Allen played lights out, and then that was just a shootout, and that was
last year
the most.
Chiefs, right?
That might have been the most fun NFL game I've ever watched. But Josh Allen played, I'm not gonna say terrible, but he played really underwhelming in my opinion in this game, and it wasn't greatness.
Which game?
This year AFC Championship game. Yeah. He didn't play well.
James Cook was probably the bulk of the offense.
Yeah, and Josh Allen, I know he doesn't have many pieces around him, but if he wants to be the MVP, he has to carry this offense like he's done the whole regular season, and he didn't even do that. The Chiefs' defense is great, but Josh Allen had a sorry game, and I would much rather have seen Lamar in that situation because I think they would have put up a much better fight against the Chiefs. The Chiefs were in control the whole game, and it wasn't really close. And Patrick Mahomes, inevitable. You can't deny his greatness, but I know the MVP award is just regular season based, but I think this playoff run really put into perspective how Josh Allen does not deserve this MVP and how Lamar is going to run away with the MVP. And honestly, I think Saquon should be over Josh Allen at this point. But moving on to the NFC Championship game, Eagles, Commanders, very disappointing outcome. I'm a big Eagles hater. and it's not really the Eagles. I mean, I don't really like their franchise and their fan base, but I don't like Jalen Hurts. I don't think he's a good quarterback at all. And, like, yeah, okay, he wins. Like, that's what he does. He produces wins, and, like, I still don't think he's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. Maybe fringe, like 9 or 10, but I don't think he's there. But the Commanders, I mean, what a run from Jaden Daniels. It's absolutely the greatest rookie season of all time from a quarterback, and it's not really close. I mean, NFC Championship, almost Super Bowl, and he just played lights out. I mean, he did win the Heisman, but nobody expected him to be this good, especially on this Commanders team, who was a bottom 5 team last year, bottom 3 team last year, and takes them all the way to the NFC Championship. Just absolute greatness from Jaden Daniels. That just shows how important the QB position is. One player can change the whole franchise.
Yeah, deep down, I kind of expected this to happen. The Commanders' defense is just so bad, even though they added Lattimore.
But they went so much farther
than
we
But
expected.
I do kind of disagree with Jonas here that that I disagree that Jalen Hurts is a bad quarterback. He's been to the Super Bowl twice, and he does what's asked of him.
Jalen Hurts.
That he does what's asked of him, and that's the bottom line. He works perfectly for their offense. He doesn't need to throw Josh Allen passes or make Patrick Mahomes plays. Their offensive line is super good. He can hand the ball to Saquon Barkley, so why wouldn't he? Doesn't matter if their passing game is a little off if they put up 55 points in the NFC Championship game. And if you have the best running back in the NFL this season, why would you not give him the ball every single play? And they don't even really give it to him that much. And his ability as a runner is pretty underrated. I know people just think, oh, it's all tush-push. But he's really good at improvising in the pocket and finding ways to scramble. I wouldn't really say his throw on the run is too great, but he's really good at finding ways to scramble. And I don't think he has to do like as much as Francis is saying, because what he's doing right now is working, and what he did 2 years ago is working. And they won a lot of games in the regular season last year, and they tailed off towards the end of the season, but it wasn't really his fault. Yeah. Okay,
all I'm saying is if any other top 10 quarterback in the NFL that I would have over Jalen Hurts was in this, like, this is obviously the best situation by far for a quarterback to be in. Best offensive line by far in the league. Best running back by far in the league, in my opinion. I know Peter thinks Derrick Henry's better. And then probably best wide receiver core in the league. That's insane. You have the top, undisputed top 2 in each of those 3 categories,
and he's made it to the Super Bowl 2 of the last 3 years.
And if any other top 10 quarterback was in this position, they would do just as good, if not better. I'm just saying, if Jalen Hurts was on the Bills, he would be shambles right now. Like, he would probably out of the starting job, I think, if he was on the Bills.
But I don't even think you can really say that, because you just don't know. And
I know it's hypothetical,
it's hypothetical, but the hypothetical game doesn't work. Like, the scheme fit for the Eagles, it's perfect. If you put Josh Allen's obviously a good runner. If you put, I don't know, Matthew Stafford, who I would rank above Jalen Hurts.
Bro, he would eat.
On the Eagles, he would not eat.
Bro, do you see how much time Jalen Hurts has in the pocket? Matthew Stafford is arguably the best pocket passer in the NFL, and he's throwing it to A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert, and then Saquon Barkley to hand it off to. That offense would be unstoppable. They would easily be the best offense in the NFL.
Jalen, like the Kellen Moore's sort of scheme, there's a lot of RPO. There's a lot of
obviously it's shift from that.
It enables Saquon, like Hurts' kind of ability. He's not the best rushing quarterback in the NFL. He's definitely top 4 or top 3. I don't really want to think about who is, but
Lamar.
It would totally shift it, because Stafford is such a non-threat in the pocket that Saquon wouldn't be as good.
He would still be really good.
I don't know.
With this offensive line, do you see the holes that they open? And it's just
that's all, you don't know.
And it's not, I'm going to be honest, it's not because the RPOs are, it's not like a Lamar Derrick Henry situation. The defenses are not, they're scared of Saquon. And the offensive line opens up so
when
many
your quarterback
pitfalls.
can tuck it and take it for a 44-yard touchdown run in the playoffs, I think they should be a little worried about that. But anyways, Matthew Stafford, the whole point I'm trying to make is that even if quarterback is better, doesn't mean they'd be a better scheme fit. Well, not scheme fit.
All right,
it
fine.
doesn't
I can
mean
agree
they'd be
with
better
that
on the team.
But I just think that you can't. I mean, I don't think it's that close. I don't think you can deny that. You were saying, Jalen Hurts, he's not making these big time plays, but he doesn't have to. But I'm saying, if you stack him up against any of these other top 10 quarterbacks, and whoever has the more big time plays or big time flashes like that's the better quarterback.
In the Super Bowl 2 years ago, he played absolutely amazing, though.
Yeah, but I'm saying that like Matthew Stafford, like Mahomes, like my whole top 10 quarterback list, Jalen Hurts isn't even on, and if any of the other 10 quarterbacks are in a situation, he would do better.
Well, their O-line wasn't even as good 2 years ago, and they had no running game, yet he was better. So I don't know how that doesn't show that it's just him taking a lot of the, like, credit and then giving it to Saquon.
No, like, I'll give him some credit, but, like, I still think that, like, I think, like, Baker Mayfield's better, Jordan Love's better, Geno Smith is, like...
Baker?
Yeah.
No.
And he's still, like, he didn't have Saquon in the Super Bowl, but he still had the best offensive line and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith.
Mayfield.
I think he's a much better passer than Jalen Hurts, and his running is underrated as well. But like,
I disagree. But we're not really going to get anywhere
Yeah.
with this. So let's talk about the Super Bowl. I don't think we need to talk about it too much because we just talked about
Just
all four of
predictions.
these teams a lot. Predictions,
I mean, come on.
31-28 Chiefs.
31-28. I would say,
I
I
don't
think
know
it's
about
going to be
28.
kind of a boring Super Bowl. I think it's going to
feel
be
like
kind of
we're
low scoring.
We're kind of due for a boring Super Bowl, but I hope it's not. So I'm going to guess.
I hope it's not, but I think, I mean, the Eagles and Chiefs are both top 5 defenses in the NFL.
31-28
think-
Chiefs, by the way. Obviously.
Yeah, obviously. I would say, I would say 24-17 or 24-20, somewhere around that range. Chiefs, and I would put $10 trillion on this game if I had it that the Chiefs are going to win.
I know the Chiefs are going to win, but it's going to be a close game because every game they play
Well,
is somehow close. But
yeah.
who do you think is going to win Super Bowl MVP? And also, like, who do you think is going to do well specifically on offense and defense? I'm going to answer my own question first. Obviously, kind of a bit of a homer pick.
Don't pick Mahomes for MVP.
UW fan. This isn't for my MVP, but for a standout defensive player on the Chiefs, Trent McDuffie's been so good all season. I feel like he's going to get a clutch interception.
And he was the standout player in the Super Bowl for them last year, too.
Yeah, he's going to get a clutch interception. Maybe he'll take it back. And then for a standout defensive player for the Eagles, I want to say like Quinyon Mitchell or Cooper DeJean, but I don't really think it's going to be them. I could see Zach Bond forcing a really good fumble for the Eagles in a pivotal moment or something like that. By the way, he is having like a sneaky depoy.
Yeah,
like,
I don't know where he came from, but
he was a practice squad player with the Saints. Now he's having a Defensive Player of the Year caliber season. His stats are better than Luke Kuechly's Defensive
You love to
Player of the
see
Year. His PFF grade is something insanely crazy. It's kind of a cool story. And then on the offense, I'm going to go one player from the offense who's going to be my Super Bowl MVP if the Chiefs win, and then my offensive player from the Eagles if they win, and that'll be their Super Bowl MVP. So the Eagles, if they win Super Bowl MVP, this isn't controversial. Saquon,
yeah.
he's gonna have to he's gonna have to carry the boat if they're gonna win. I don't really think I need to elaborate at all. If he puts up 200 yards like they do in the playoff games, they're gonna win. But I don't think the Chiefs are gonna let him put up 200 yards. I don't think they're gonna let him rip a big one off. But which is kind of how he gets the bulk of his yards and makes his impact just by ripping off absolutely huge runs instead of just like working away at the defensive line. And then for the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, but sleeper, I could see D-Hop in his first ever. I could see him. This is kind of hope, but I could see him in his first ever Super Bowl.
He's catching like 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, catch like 3 touchdowns. Like for some reason, the Super Bowl, the Chiefs just love targeting like random players.
Yeah.
Like last year, Mecole Hardman, Sky Moore, and then Kadarius Toney got 2 touchdowns. Yeah. Juju.
Yeah.
Like pretty weird, but yeah, it's gonna be Mahomes if they win though.
Eagles defensive player, I would say Zach Bond, but I feel like the Chiefs are going to be more pass oriented in this game, and I feel like Zach Bond is like an elite run stuffer, but more of a run stuffer than the coverage guy. But he's also great in coverage too, so it could be him. But I think I'm going to go with. I want to say Jalen Carter. I think he's going to be an absolute menace down the middle, and I think I could see him getting like a pair of sacks for himself. On the Chiefs defense side, I would say Trent McDuffie, but I want to stray away from Peter's pick and be a little less biased here. I'm going to say, I'm not going to say D-line because the Eagles' O-line is so amazing.
Nick Bolton. Well, he already had that really good Super Bowl.
Maybe Leo Chenal. Actually, I'm going to go with George Karlaftis, edge rusher.
Absolute stud playoff performer.
I think he's going to it's that type of game for him. He's going to have like 3 sacks or something. But if an edge rusher has 3 sacks against the Eagles with their offensive line and Jalen Hurts, that is very impressive. Eagles offensive player. If they do win, it's going to be Saquon or Jalen Hurts. But I'm hoping that, I'm a big Smitty guy. I love Devontae Smith. I feel like A.J. Brown will win Super Bowl MVP. If he has a great performance, which I can see him having, I really hope A.J. Brown. I'm a big A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith guy, so I hope one of the receivers wins. The Chiefs, it's going to be Mahomes. The Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl, and Patrick Mahomes is going to win the Super Bowl MVP. But, sneaky, it's going to be Mahomes. But if it's not Mahomes, maybe I don't know,
Pacheco.
Xavier Worthy.
Hunt.
Nah, it's gonna be. I can't not see Mahomes though.
Patty.
It's not because even that one Super Bowl against the 49ers, maybe it could have been Damian Williams, but they're gonna pick Mahomes.
Yeah.
What are we saying?
So we're gonna wrap this up here. Thank you guys so much for listening. One more note. I think Francis, we're gonna be doing kind of a top 10 series at each position on our YouTube channel next, and then we're gonna be dropping some mock drafts
and
2.0s
a
in
big
the
board.
future. Big board maybe, mock draft, whatever. In the near future, so make sure to go sub, Noti Yang, tell all your friends. Yeah.
Thank you.